Well, I think looking at the survey results, it suggests that 75% of the players were willing and able to go and represent their countries. And I think, looking at some of the reasons that have been cited, I mentioned some of the other some of the other tournaments that are going ahead, is then by saying player safety, is that then saying that the governing bodies of the Wallabies and the All Blacks, they're not concerned about player safety? Because I'm speaking to people at the World Cup and they seem to have put all the correct biosecurity stipulations in place to help this World Cup go ahead, but it just seems to be ignored. And I think that's what's making people angry back in England. It's annoying me as well that they're hiding behind COVID when COVID's actually affected a lot of people around the world. And don't hide behind it, and don't hide behind perceived player safety, because like Gerd said, we found a way to get Origin on because there's a financial windfall. We found a way to get the competition on up in Queensland. We've moved everyone because we understand the financial implications of having it on versus not having it on. It's the same with the World Cup. The financial implications for not having this on could be catastrophic for the international game. Peter V'landys spoke about when rugby league's in a time of crisis. Yeah, we have these we have people who we hate or teams who we don't like, but in a time of crisis, we come together. Maybe you should live by that and help get this World Cup on instead of, I'm not saying he's hiding behind COVID, but that's what he's being accused of back in England.
And it's hugely damaging for the game in England because
it's embarrassing.
Financially,
it's embarrassing.
The government over there has given them £25 million to put this tournament on. So if they ask for that money back because it's not going ahead.
Well, does it go ahead? What happens now? If without Australia and New Zealand,
that's what they're weighing
happens?
up at the moment, Todd. That potentially they go ahead without Australia and New Zealand. But, Australia said, can we push the tournament back 12 months? Well, it's not that easy because they book stadiums and there's a whole round of sports that are going ahead already in the schedule for next year. You can't just pick up a World Cup, push it back 12 months because the reason it's on now is they've got a relatively open schedule, I think at the end of the year in England. But at the end of the year, next year in England, it's chock-a-block. So there's no place for the World Cup at the end of the year. So you could play it here, but what about that £25 million the government's given over there?
Well, it's not just that. With a game like Rugby League and the World Cup, timing is everything. So you need to maximise your exposure in the media. So at the moment, this would be the perfect time. Gather momentum. It's a pretty free, open.
I think every game's on BBC. It's going to be on BBC.
But what I'm saying is, in terms of like national coverage in the UK, there's a perfect opportunity for it to gain as much traction as possible. You fast forward 12 months. It's the FIFA Football or Soccer World Cup in Qatar at the same time. So in terms of like the momentum and traction it's going to gather in the media, it's not going to be as great. And I think it's a little bit embarrassing to have the government back it and then the Australian and Kiwis pull out together as well, which I don't really agree with. Kind of them doing it at the same time. It's sort of smell a bit of a rat kind of stuff. You're like, oh, we'll buddy up together and we'll pull out together rather than one doing it and then the other doing it and not. In my opinion, not giving a valid enough reason and going against, if you believe what the player surveys have put out, going against what the players' wishes are. Because even in my time there, a lot. You spoke about this 8 weeks holiday. Every time I was on an RLPA call, every time I was on an RLPA meeting, the consensus was the players wanted international football and they were willing to sacrifice their time off and their rest in order to go and play and represent the countries that they were from.
I'm a bit like Gertz. I think the players should be given the opportunity and let them make a decision whether they want to go or not. If they want to cut their holiday short by 2 weeks, let them do it.
Absolutely. And
it's a bit of the case of the tail wags the dog a lot in rugby league, right? The clubs dictate to the ARL Commission on the NRL about what should happen. There's no doubt the vast majority of this is club backlash against the World Cup going ahead.
Absolutely. And I think everybody could empathise if, say, Australia picked a team to go and tour and say, I'm just using this as an example, James Tedesco said, oh, look, I'm not going to go. I feel like I'm going to pass the baton on to somebody else and I'm not comfortable with going. People would accept that.
Yep.
But if 75% of the playing group want to go, it tends to suggest that Australia could put a competitive team in that resembles what it would be the best green and gold team available. Same with the Kiwis.
Well, then you'd have to put Tommy Turbo at fullback.
The
fans would hate that.
Yeah, exactly. So I think people would empathise with players that would potentially want to pull out for different reasons, whether it be family or lack of time at home. And obviously we're sympathetic to to the Kiwi teams that have, obviously there's some lads there that haven't been to New Zealand for, quite a significant amount of time. And if some of those lads that played for the Warriors didn't want to travel to England, I think we'd accept that and we'd move on. But I still think New Zealand could assemble a team that looks like a competitive team and looks like the number one, ranked rugby league nation in the world right now.